This woman in my area pretended to be a nurse for over 20 years. What is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are already part of the family, for those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Kiara Selena. I am a licensed practical nurse, and on my channel I mainly talk about nursing, but we also do a bit of skincare, beauty, hair, and all of that. All right, so you guys read the title right. You guys heard the beginning of the video. I'm gonna be talking to you guys about a nurse by the name of Nathalie Bélanger, and you guys are gonna hear that my accent is gonna change when I say certain things because these are French areas. I live in a French province. Some of you guys are gonna be discovering for the first time that I also speak French, but it's like I have to say them the proper way. So you guys are gonna hear my accent change a bit, but yeah, like I was saying, this woman named Nathalie Bélanger from the Lac-Saint-Jean Saguenay area in Quebec pretended to be a nurse for 20 years. Not a CNA, not an LPN, like a registered nurse. She literally pretended to be a registered nurse for 20 years, and she has no prior nursing experience. So this is not one of those stories. It's not like she is an immigrant, she came from, you know, another country where she practiced as a nurse, and it's like, okay, it makes sense that she was able to pretend to be registered, like a registered nurse in this area, because she actually has nursing experience somewhere else. She has no former nursing experience. So I remember when we were talking about this story while I was in school, and one of the questions that, well, not even one of the questions, the question that everybody wanted to ask, and I'm sure it's the same question that you want to ask right now, is how did they find out, right? So basically, you guys know how, well, it might be different depending on your jurisdiction, depending on where you're from, your area, but usually every year to 2 years, whether you're an LPN or an RN, you will have to go do some refresher classes, just because there are always like updates or little changes within our scope of practice. And in order for us to stay up to date with the changes that happen in the Board of Nurses, we have to go and do these classes every 1 to 2 years. It might be different depending on where you're from, but for us, it's 2 years. So this lady registered, you know, to go do her refresher class or whatever. And she got there and they asked her for her license number, which she had, her name, and her date of birth. So when she gave her date of birth, her license number, and her name, they realized that there is a nurse in their system with the name Nathalie Bélanger and with that license number, but the date of birth they had on their records didn't match the date of birth that she gave, and automatically they suspected something and they they suspended her license right away. So this lady basically found a nurse who has the same name as her, found her license number, and just pretended to be this person. And it's actually quite easy to do here because if you go to the hospital, or like, you don't really have to even be an employer or anything like that. If you want to find a nurse, LPN or RN, you can go on the Board of Nurses website. It's different for LPNs and RNs. The website isn't the same, but you can just go on the website and type in that person's license number or their name, and it'll give you basically all their information, their license number, their name, and it'll show you their records. So it'll show you like if they've made any medication errors that were reported or anything like that. So it's quite easy to basically find the information. The information is pretty much there for everyone to find, and I'm assuming that that's how she did. Now, the craziest part about the story is that not only did she work for 20 years as a nurse, like, you know, for someone to pretend to be a nurse for 5 months, 6 months, I mean, that's still crazy. But the fact that she worked for 20 years as a fake nurse, but not only that, like, she has a clean record. Like, nothing happened. There were no accidents or anything. Like, she probably made medication errors. I mean, medication errors are like things that happen, but nothing big ever happened. She actually has quite a clean record, and it just gets crazier because she worked in different areas of the hospital, but she worked in ICU and she worked in OR. Like, what? Like, imagine if you were sick and you had to go into OR, you had to do some type of operation, and there is a fake nurse in the operating room giving medications. I think they give medications sometimes. Maybe not. Maybe the anesthesiologist. but I'm sure they probably give medications sometimes, or you have like this fake nurse who's handing instruments to the surgeon. Like, how did she learn all of this? How did she learn all of this? So what the Board of Nurses is like suspecting is that maybe she was a CNA in the past and she absorbed all of the nursing information during her CNA experience. But as someone who worked as a CNA before becoming a nurse, I will say that you do learn a lot and you see a lot. So, I mean, the hands-on part of it, I mean, I get, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to do a blood draw. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to do, to like start an IV. Like, they are things that require practice, but they're not hard to learn. They're quite simple to do. But nursing is more than just being hands-on. Like, it's the critical the critical thinking skills, the signs and the symptoms, communicating with the doctors, knowing what drugs you're giving, knowing what drugs go together and don't, because at the end of the day, even though doctors are the ones prescribing medications, doctors make medication errors all the time. Not because they're bad, but I mean, like, doctors are on call, they're tired, and sometimes they make mistakes, and the nurses have to have that knowledge to catch on to mistakes. You have to have that knowledge to be able to say, hey doc, like, are you sure this is what you want to prescribe? Like, this sounds a bit sketch, or this and this doesn't go together. But it's just crazy that for 20 years she was able to do that, and she has no prior nursing experience. They're not even sure if she worked as a CNA before. They're just saying, like, maybe that's what she did. Maybe she had some type of nurse's aide or CNA type of experience. But honestly, even at that, like, even if I worked as a CNA for 5 years, I worked as a CNA for 2 years, but even if I'd worked as a CNA for 5 or 10 years, I don't think I would ever be comfortable enough to actually walk up in a hospital, grab charts, start reading through charts, and start actually going into people's rooms, assessing them, giving them medications, doing procedures, invasive procedures too. Like, nursing is more than just taking vital signs, like actual procedures. So now you guys are probably wondering, like, what happened to her, right? She is facing charges for fraud and identity theft and falsifying documents because she falsified her college degree. She falsified, she pretended, or she identity theft because she took somebody else's identity, and, falsifying documents, because I'm sure they asked her for her school transcripts and a bunch of stuff, and she obviously falsified those things when they asked for it. Because even though you have your license number and your name, when a hospital or a facility is hiring you, they don't just ask you for your license number and your name. They will ask you for, like, other documents, which she clearly falsified. So she's facing those charges. I haven't found any articles about her actual sentencing yet. I don't even think they're going to send her to jail. The hospital is thinking about suing her, but people are basically saying, like, that the hospital should be sued instead of them suing her, because they are the ones who hired her without doing their proper research. But they're basically saying that there's no way they could have known or anything like that. Whatever they asked her to present, she presented it, and there was no way for them to know if the papers were falsified or not. I mean, you would never think that someone's crazy enough to do these things. So yeah, those are basically the charges that she's facing, and they're trying to charge her a $5,000 fine for, like, fraud. I know those of you in America are probably thinking, what kind of punishments are those? But Canada is nice. Like, honestly, when it comes to committing crimes, like, Canada's probably, like, if you're a criminal, I'm not even gonna lie, Canada's probably, like, the best place to get away with things, because they're just so lenient. I know that if she was in the States, oh my God, she would be done. Like, you guys would finish her. But in Canada, I don't even think she's gonna go to jail, to be completely honest. Like, I really don't. And if she does get sentenced, it's probably gonna be like a 2-year sentence, which is really 1, because I think the way they calculate the days, it's like 1.5. So, like, I think 1 night counts as like an extra half or something like that. Something along those lines. So guys, what do you think about this story? Like, let's talk about this, because it's actually crazy, especially once again because it's so close to home. Like, I could have been admitted to that hospital. Like, I've been in accidents before. I've been admitted to the hospital. Imagine if you brought your kid to the hospital and there's this fake peds nurse taking care of your kid. you would go crazy. You would probably go crazy. And like I said, in the States, people could probably sue for that. But here, no, she's probably not gonna get in any trouble. So let's talk about this. What would you do? What do you have to say? What do you think about the situation? Leave that down in the comment section below. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, then please like, share, subscribe, and make sure you turn on your notification bell. It's very important for you to do that so that you get a notification whenever I post future content. And I hope to see you guys in my next one. Bye.